Have you ever heard a story so bizarre, so unexplainable, that even the facts feel like fiction? Imagine it is the year 1803. Japan is closed off from the world-tight borders. No foreign contact allowed. Then one morning, a strange vessel washes ashore. Not a ship, not a raft, something else entirely. And inside it, hair the color of rusted blood. Clutching a mysterious box she refuses to let go. She does not speak Japanese, or Dutch, or Portuguese. In fact, no one can understand her at all. Where did she come from? What was she protecting? And why did history record her but never solve her? This is not science fiction. It is a story carved into ancient manuscripts. But what if this was not just a historical anomaly? What if it was something out of this world? On a fog-drenched morning in March 1803, a group of Japanese fishermen spotted an object bobbing in the waves off Hitachi province's eastern shore. At first glance, it seemed like driftwood, but as it got closer, they saw a circular, dome-like structure, metallic at the base, with glass or crystal panels forming its sides, suspended in the tide like it was waiting to be found. The fishermen hauled the object ashore. It measured just 18 feet long and 11 feet high small by any seafaring standard. It was heavy and solid, yet finely crafted. Not a scrap-built refugee vessel, not a merchant ship. This was something else, something deliberate. Inside, seated silently, was a woman. Alone, she was unlike anyone the villagers had ever seen. Her skin was porcelain pale, almost glowing in the misty light. Her eyes wide, but expressionless, and her hair a deep, vivid red looked as though it had been soaked in the essence of autumn. She wore clothes unfamiliar to Japanese fashion, and she clutched tightly a long, rectangular box, as if it contained her soul itself. When the villagers tried to speak to her, she replied in a soft, melodic language that none could place. Not Japanese, not Dutch, not Portuguese. No one recognized it. But here's where it gets weirder. The vessel itself held drinking water, preserved food, and symbols carved into the walls. These were not marks of desperation. This was not a castaway. This was planned. Let us take a moment to understand the stakes here. In 1803, Japan was under the Sakoku policy, a strict isolationist law. Foreigners were considered threats. Even talking to one could invite punishment. Harboring one, that could mean execution, or worse, exile, erasure, total destruction of an entire village. So you can imagine the horror of the villagers. They were not looking at a curiosity. They were looking at a potential death sentence for everyone. The elders gathered in hushed voices. Was this woman a spy, a goddess, a ghost? One of them, an aged fisherman, remembered a story. Long ago, a royal woman from another land had defied her arranged marriage. Her punishment, exile at sea, with only her lover's severed head in a wooden box. The villagers stared at the woman's hands, still clutched tight around the mysterious box. The elders debated for hours. Keeping her risked imperial wrath. Turning her in felt wrong. In the end, they made a decision they would send her back to the sea, not out of cruelty, but out of mercy, or maybe fear. They carried the vessel back to the shore, helped her aboard. The woman did not resist. She said nothing. She did not weep. She simply sat down, as if she knew this was always going to be her path. And then they pushed her away into the fog, into history. You might think this was folklore, but this story was not passed down by whispers. It was recorded, documented in no less than 3 historical manuscripts: Oshuzaki, Toen Shosetsu, Hyoryu Kishu. Each one tells the same story with slight variations, but always includes the red-haired woman, the circular boat, the mysterious box, and the unknown language. So now, over 200 years later, we ask, who was she? The most grounded theory starts in a place far colder than Japan's eastern shores, Russia. In the years following Catherine the Great's reign, Russia was in cultural transition. Trade was expanding, European ideas were trickling in, and aristocracy was obsessed with fashion, especially red hair, powdered faces, and fur-trimmed robes. It sounds eerily familiar to the strange woman in the vessel. Japanese scholars in the 19th century made that connection too. One scholar, Kokushi Debakan, took things further. He compared the Utsuro-Bune tale with the memoirs of a Japanese sailor named Duyo Kaiyu, who had been shipwrecked and spent 10 years living in Russia. Duyo spoke of women with flame-colored hair, dressed in white furs. He mentioned a writing system that was rounded and flowing, just like the strange carvings in the Utsuro-Bune. But there is a twist. Even if she had come from Russia, how did she end up alone in such a vessel, drifting into a sealed-off Japan during one of the most isolationist periods in human history? What force, natural or not, brought her there? Let us focus on something easily overlooked, the symbols inside the vessel. They were not Japanese, not Russian, not Latin, and they did not match any known writing system at the time. But they were intentional, etched deeply, carefully, with clear symmetry. Some described them as slanted and looping, like script meant to flow with emotion rather than logic. Linguists today often compare these symbols with modern-day crop circles or even alien alphabets described by UFO experiencers. Are we stretching? Maybe. But we have to ask, why did someone go through the effort to include these inside a sealed craft? In 1965, a linguist named Dr. Shoji Kameda studied copies of the manuscripts. He believed the carvings resembled the early Rongorongo glyphs of Easter Island, a language no one has fully deciphered. This added fuel to the theory that the woman came not from a known civilization, but from one lost or deliberately erased from history. This was not the first or last time someone has been found adrift at sea with no explanation. Let us talk about some real examples. In 2004, a man was rescued off the coast of Germany. He had no ID, spoke no known language, and claimed amnesia. Despite global efforts, no one could trace his identity. He was later nicknamed Piano Man after being found playing classical music silently in a hospital. In 1955, a lifeboat was discovered near the Philippines containing a dead man in a naval uniform. The ship's registry number did not match any country. His dog tags were made of a material not found in modern manufacturing. To this day, no explanation exists. In 2022, a small wooden craft appeared off Hokkaido, Japan. It was circular, it was unmanned, and carved inside were strange glyphs and a scorched piece of fur clothing. Authorities declared it foreign debris. The media barely covered it. All of this begs the question, what if the woman from 1803 was not the beginning of a mystery? What if she was just a visible piece of something much bigger, ongoing, and hidden in plain sight? Now, let us turn inward to a myth once dismissed, now worth revisiting. 1,000 years before the Utsuro-Bune, Japan's Kono clan claimed their bloodline began with a girl who drifted from the sea. According to legend, a fisherman rescued a girl adrift in a round, wooden boat. She was 13, spoke an unknown language, and said she had fled from a cruel stepmother in the Chinese court. She was raised by villagers in Iwao province, married a prince, and gave birth to the founder of the Kono family, a real, documented samurai clan that held power for centuries. It was chalked up to folklore until a scholar in 1881 discovered a faded scroll showing a circular vessel, strange symbols, and a girl with reddish hair. Coincidence or repetition? We have two stories separated by 1,000 years. Two girls. Two boats. One mystery. If the Utsuro-Bune appeared today, we would not call it a boat, we would call it a UFO. And for good reason. The structure had no sails, no rudder, no oars. A sealed base of metal, transparent upper panels like glass domes, and symbols that defy classification. It sounds like something out of a science fiction film. But this was recorded in 1803, long before even the term UFO existed. When researchers placed Edo-era drawings of the Utsuro-Bune next to photos of 1950s flying saucer sightings, the similarities were chilling. The shape, the hatch, the way it floated, disconnected from earthly logic. Could it be that the story we treat as Japanese folklore was actually humanity's earliest recorded UFO contact? And what if the woman was not lost, but sent? Let us pause and forget for a moment that we're talking about a boat, a beach, and a red-haired woman. Let us imagine instead we are dealing with a collective dream, one captured in ink. Passed down over centuries, the woman may have been real. Or she may have been what Carl Jung called an archetype, a symbol of something hidden in the human soul. Her pale skin and red hair, not just foreignness, but a representation of the other, of what society fears yet can't explain. And what about the box? She never opened it, never explained it, but she clung to it like life itself. Across cultures, the box shows up again and again. Pandora's box in Greek mythology, holding all the evils of the world. The Ark of the Covenant in Judaism, holding divine law. Even Schrodinger's cat, a sealed box of quantum mystery. Maybe the box is a stand-in for something else, truth or trauma, or even love lost. Maybe that is why the villagers did not dare open it. Because to open the box would be to confront something eternal. Let us zoom out and look at the top 3 theories about what the woman in the Utsuro-Bune might have been. 1. The exiled human. Most grounded theories suggest she was a noblewoman or princess from a foreign land, perhaps Russia, perhaps China, banished at sea by political forces. Her vessel was built to keep her alive. But Japan was never her intended destination. She was a casualty of love, exile, and imperial cruelty. Strengths, fits historical context, aligns with Elder's tale. Weaknesses, doesn't explain the symbols, vessel design, or extreme precautions. 2. The time traveler or lost civilization survivor. What if the Utsuro-Bune was not from another place, but another time? The vessel's design was beyond what Edo-era Japanese had ever seen. The symbols did not match any known language. Her box could have been a time-locked device. Was she from a civilization that lived before known history, or one yet to come? Strengths explains advanced technology, unfamiliar language, and the woman's stoic presence. Weaknesses lacks physical proof, deeply speculative. 3. Extraterrestrial encounter. And then there is the theory everyone whispers but rarely accepts out loud, that the Utsuro-Bune was a UFO, and the woman, her glowing skin, her silence, her untranslatable voice, the craft that looked like a flying saucer, the sealed nature of her vessel, the fact that she did not eat, did not cry, did not resist. Maybe she was not lost at sea. Maybe she was left here. Strengths aligns with many modern UFO accounts. Consistency of design is eerie. Weaknesses radical. Requires abandoning conventional logic. Scene 13. Echoes in pop culture. 6:15. This story may have taken place in 1803, but its fingerprints are all over modern culture. Studio Ghibli's floating crafts and cryptic female characters often draw from Utsuro-Bune-like myths. The game Death Stranding portrays mysterious women from the sea bearing gifts and omens, sealed in containers. The Arrival, a 2016 sci-fi film, features an alien language of circular symbols and a woman who must translate it emotionally, not logically, eerily similar to the mood of this tale. The story keeps retelling itself, just in different costumes, so why can't we forget it? More than 2 centuries have passed. The sea that once brought her still laps Japan's shores, and yet we are no closer to the truth. Maybe that is the point. Some stories exist not to be solved, but to remind us of our limits, of the blind spots in human understanding. The Utsuro-Bune is not just a story about a woman in a boat. It is a mirror, a question, a challenge. We live in a world that demands answers, and yet this tale gives us none. It only offers a woman with no past, a language with no dictionary, a box that won't open, and a craft that does not belong. Maybe that is what keeps this story alive, because deep down, we all carry a box of our own. Secrets, heartbreak, exile, truth we are not ready to face. It is about fear of the unknown, the price of isolation, the stories we pass down when we do not know what else to do. We may never know who the woman was, but the question she left behind matters more than the answer. Was she a foreign princess, a lost scientist, a traveler between worlds? Or was she a message? A reminder that even in a world built on certainty and structure, there are still places where the unknown washes up and dares us to look closer. So now I ask you, dear viewer, what is in your box? What truths have you set adrift hoping they never come back? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more mysteries that challenge everything we think we know. And leave a comment, because your interpretation might be the missing piece we have all been waiting for.